I've been a guitar player for the past 20 years and I've been a guitar teacher for the past 5 years. The number one thing that I always see with successful guitars versus unsuccessful guitars is the successful ones keep a consistent practice schedule for the long haul versus the ones who are not successful do the exact opposite, okay? But it goes a lot deeper than this. So I'm going to tell you, the viewer, why you aren't keeping your consistency in your practice schedule or your routine. And we're going to go over some really awesome things that you can do to kind of rewire your brain as well as rewire your daily habits in order for you to keep that consistent schedule, get some success, and crush your dreams. So let's just get into it. So without wasting any time, one of the most important things in life is just to have a schedule to begin with in general, okay? That's typically how we get things done, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, before you say anything in the comments, I do understand. Sometimes you just kind of have to drop everything and just work on something. Totally understandable, right? That makes sense. But for the most part, if you want to really see growth, you're going to have to figure out a schedule for everything else in life outside of the guitar before you start adding the guitar in my opinion. So let's talk about some things, okay? So your daily habits, like waking up, like eating, like sleeping, like going to the gym, like going to school, going to work, all of these things should be under a consistent schedule. I understand some of you guys who are in college, schedules are not consistent. Do your best with it and bear with me on this, okay? Most guitar players, when I ask them, how often are you practicing? They say, oh, a few days a week. They start telling me about their scheduling and they start telling me about things. I can just tell that they don't have everything else together with their life in terms of their scheduling. Things are crazy. They're 1 minute they're at work for 8 hours, then the next time they're there for 10 hours, and then they're sleeping for 6 hours one night and then 9 hours the other night. We gotta stop this and we gotta keep the consistency. And I understand life happens. Sometimes you gotta, for the most part, most people can keep some form of consistency, okay? So if you don't have your regular schedule locked in, how are you going to have your guitar schedule locked in? Think about that. If you don't have your sleep locked in, if you don't have your regular workout schedule locked in, it's going to be really hard to lock in the guitar and add that on. So in my opinion, what you should do first for a good week, figure out your regular schedule for everything and then incorporate guitar in that schedule and fit it in, okay? This is going to work for most people, especially busy people, okay? Now, the reason why you don't have that is usually like laziness, lack of discipline. But I think that the real cause for laziness or not having that consistency, this could perhaps be number one, is not having a clear purpose or goal or emotional attachment to your goal. Okay? So before you exit out of this video, because you're like, Aiden, I got goals. It's not a big deal. I don't think you do. I don't think you have a very clear connection as to what you really want out of this, and you don't understand the hard work that it actually takes when you actually get as good as you want to get to. So let me give you an example. The reason you work out, right, it's usually to look better and to feel better. Those are the two big things, right? Look better and feel better, okay? But there's a lot of layers to this that make things go significantly deeper with you working out, okay? Let's take looking better. What does looking better do for you? Well, I feel more confident. Okay, why do you feel confident? Do you not feel confident now? Or do you not feel confident around your family or your spouse? Do you, maybe you're single and you're like, well, I don't feel confident to meet people, right? And I'm just giving you an example, right? And then it's like, well, you don't feel confident to meet people. Let's use that example. How does that make you feel emotionally? Probably not great, right? But turn that around, okay, and think like, well, I got to get in good shape because I have to meet someone, right? And I'm just using this as an example again. Like, I don't really talk about this stuff. But you have to get into shape to be able to meet the expectations of somebody else that you'll like, right? That's just kind of how it works. The same thing goes for feeling better. Maybe you're like, well, maybe right now you don't feel really good. Maybe you have low energy and you're not really doing much in life. Maybe cleaning up your diet will actually help you with that. Maybe you're worried about getting sick and then you're worried about, your family, if, things, God forbid, go really bad, right? There's a lot of emotional connection to that. Now, let's take that very seriously. There's two very serious examples, and let's put it to something like the guitar, okay? It's fun, right? that might be your reason. Like, I play guitar because it's fun. It makes me feel happy, right? Why does it make you feel happy? Well, maybe you like to create. Maybe you like just the sound of the guitar. Maybe you have an appreciation for guitars. Maybe it gives you less stress, right? What are you talking about? Do you like, is stress something that you have in life? Probably. And guitar usually is a stress reliever. But the problem is a lot of you guys are turning guitar into something that's extremely stressful. This is for people that are hobbyists, not people that are trying to do this as like a job or whatever. When guitar becomes stressful, you don't want to do it. So what you need to do is you need to figure out, again, going back to point number one, the routine to where it doesn't become stressful. Okay? But assuming it does relieve stress, how does it relieve stress? Do you feel fun when it like just you nail the solo, or is there an emotional attachment to the music, right? All of these things will stem with emotion, right? So let's go to the career route, because that's like the hobbyist route. The career route would be more of something like this. Well, let's say your goal is you want to be a touring guitar player for a band that you're hired with. Okay, that's a pretty good one. Okay, why do you want to do that? Well, it would make me feel happy, right? It would make you feel happy that you're doing what you love full time, right? But why does that make you feel happy? You like playing for people. It makes you feel confident. It makes you feel alive. It makes you feel good, right? And doing that on a long-term standpoint would probably make you feel really, really happy with your life. So that's another big one. You would feel really happy with your life if you were in a better spot, right? So what I'm saying that you should do when it comes to your guitar goals is you need to write down your goals, and then you need to write down the emotional attachment and what it would actually be like to be in that position, because being a touring guitarist is not easy. Okay, it's very, very difficult, very, very challenging. So have you thought about that? Do you want that challenge? You should crave and thrive that challenge and be up for that challenge, because it's not easy. If you're a hobbyist guitar player, but you want to be able to shred and play for your friends, or maybe at an open mic or whatever, you still got to be good. So you got to want the work, right? And you got to have that emotional attachment, and that's going to push you to actually work and get it done, right? As humans, when there's an urgency attached to a goal, you get it done. When there's no urgency, you don't get it done. It's as simple as that, okay? Number 3, you have no accountability, okay? As a bedroom guitarist, you have the freedom to be extremely mediocre because you have no one around you to actually hold you accountable. Maybe you've got your friends that you jam with, right? And it's fine, right? Maybe you've got people that you are jamming with, or maybe you play for your family every once in a while. It's cool. You sound pretty good, right? You need the people that are actually pushing you, though. You don't need the people that are telling you that you're doing great, great, great. Obviously, that feels good, and you might be doing all right, right? You might be doing pretty good. But you need that push. You need that accountability. You need to thrive and go for that stuff. Okay? So, if you signed up for a marathon 3 months from now, no prior training, it would force you to train and be ready, because you're like, well, man, I'm going to be surrounded by all these other people. I'm going to be there. I'm going to, I paid for it. I got to do it. The same thing is with guitar. If you sign up for a gig or an audition for a band, let's use that as a better example, you're putting yourself in the position where you have to get really, really good. You need to set deadlines, and you need to have other people hold you accountable for those things. Okay? So, if you have a teacher, that works really well too, right? It forces you to practice because you don't want to show up and not know what you're doing. Okay? So when you're by yourself, you've got no drive. What's the point of you doing it, right? If you're not posting any videos of you playing, your audience isn't there because you have no audience. So no one's holding you accountable. So you're fine with being mediocre. That's got to change. You've got to be surrounded by people who will hold you accountable. Next reason, your brain is fried with short-term gratification rather than long-term gratification. Yes, this has to do with the modern age, but it actually goes kind of deeper than that on things that I feel like a lot of guitar players don't talk about. So obviously, yeah, you got all these amazing guitar players, and guitar is a lifelong instrument. So if you don't see yourself playing it 30, 40, 50 years, you may as well quit, right? Because you got to play this long-term to get it successful. But that's the thing. most other hobbies or professions don't take this long to get good. Yes, there are some examples of this, but the guitar is a long, freaking hard journey, man. Every instrument is, but guitar, man, you gotta play for 10 years minimum before you start seeing some really, really solid results. And it is tough. It is not an easy thing to do. There are some exceptions to the rule that we've seen, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of time, but versus something like if I wanted to run a marathon, or if the average person wanted to run a marathon, give them 3 months of good training and a coach. They can do it. It may not be the greatest time, but they can do it, right? Give someone 2 years to bench press 225 with proper coaching and nutrition, they can probably get there, right? But with guitar and music in general, it takes a lot of time, okay? Social media is giving you all that dopamine, obviously. That's a thing, you know. There's other vices, right, that you can, I'm sure, think about that are causing you that short-term gratification that I would recommend that you try to lower or get rid of, okay? Because when you have something as long and drawn out as guitar, it's really testing you out to see if you're actually going to stick with it long term, okay? And I'd argue that most professions, like I said, are a lot easier to get better at, okay? So it's a slow process, and you need to understand that this is a lifelong marathon and not a race. Now, the last thing that we'll talk about here real quick, simply put, is the how, okay? So going back to the start, just to recap, what we want to do is we got to get the schedule of our regular life out first. Figure that out, okay? Number 2, we need to set deadlines and make things more of an emotional attachment to it, because that's what's going to get it done, okay? Write them down physically. That's what's going to really help you out there. One note with the scheduling thing, start off small with your guitar playing schedule. I recommend 15 minutes just to start, and then just slowly build your way up. 15 minutes might seem too short, but if you're not sticking with anything, you can't talk, bro. Like, you just got to do it, okay? So point number 3, having the things of no accountability, find people that are going to actually hold you accountable. Sign up for a class, not a course. Sign up for a class or a teacher, okay? A course is no accountability, because it's like you just turn something in, they give you a workout or whatever, exercises. Nobody ever uses those, and nobody ever gets them done, okay? You need actual structure. You need an actual teacher. You need somebody that's helping you hands-on, okay? If you want to work with me, go ahead. If you don't, you can find somebody else. I'm sure that will fit you better, okay? Now, the last one being about the long-term versus short-term gratification. It's just a mindset thing. You need to understand that the competition is going to cut out the older you get. And that should be a motivation for you in of itself. Because when you're in high school, a lot of people play guitar. When you're in middle school, a lot of people play guitar. When you're in college, less people are playing guitar seriously. When you're after college, the numbers are slim. When people are in their 30s and 40s, very, very minimal, right? Then when they're 50s, they start getting back into it because they have more time, right? But this is where you can actually succeed and thrive at this. So with all those things together, I hope that this will actually help you get some accountability. If you want more help on having a good routine, if you feel like you just want to work with me in general, click the link below. I have an awesome masterclass. It's the best masterclass ever. I worked really hard on it, and I always try to improve. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.